Welcome back, Tiger fans, to Rockin' Radio's football podcast. I'm Nate Edwards. That's Nathan Hurst. This is Before the Box Score. It's August 7th. We are in full-blown camp mode. College football's right around the corner. All sorts of good stuff's happening. Nathan Hurst, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. We are Tony Temple days away from Tiger football. If that tells you anything, I'm not going to reveal that number to our intrepid listeners. You already know what Tony Temple days away means, so we'll go from there. But it is coming upon us quickly.
Yeah. I do love the counting down with the players thing. I used to do that a long time ago on Twitter when I had no shtick, when I wasn't writing. It was a lot of fun to go back to old players and tell you you're this many jersey number days away. But yeah, 22, man. I'll ruin the surprise. It's 22. It's getting close.
Not his 280 yards that he put up in his last game.
Boy. Greatest individual performance you've ever seen in person from a Mizzou football player? That's up there for me.
It would be that or one of a couple different Brad Smith games, perhaps the Independence Bowl against South Carolina, where he single-handedly brought us back from a very large deficit.
Yep.
Might be his last game in a Mizzou Tiger uniform as well. So we've got a good history of players showing out as they head off into the sunset.
Yeah. And saved Gary Pinkel from that being his last game as a Missouri football employee.
Very possible.
Yeah. I'd say Tony Temple was probably one of the best performances I've seen live. Denario Alexander against Kansas State.
Yes.
Or Denario Alexander against Kansas. I was there for both of those. That was my final victory lap in college. So yeah, I think we've been around for some good stuff. But Tony Temple is special in my heart. Yeah. That was just this special season. That was a special capper. But that was, wow, 17 years ago. So we're not going to talk about that anymore. We're going to talk about stuff that's a little bit more important, a little bit more modern, a little bit more current. And we're actually just to give you a little reminder, Rockin' Plus, go ahead and sign up for that. Rockin' Plus is your place to find all the stuff that we cannot put on a free website. So a lot of basketball breakdowns, a lot of inside news, a lot of breaking news, a lot of stuff that we hear as the rumor mill goes. We put it on Rockin' Plus. And if you want to hear it, we'd love to have you on board. It's $5 a month or $50 for a year. And on top of that, you could also get the magazine, the Rockin' preview for the 2024 Missouri football season. That magazine is 93 pages long. It's got everything you could possibly want in it. Nathan Hurst was one of the authors on it, as well as most of the staff, the football staff that's putting it together. It's coming out soon. Nathan Hurst, it's good, right? It's worth it. It's
great. Not to spoil it, but we're going to talk about defensive line a little bit here. And I wrote the defensive line preview, so hopefully you'll check that out. Several other things in there as well. Opponent previews for every game that the Tigers have on their schedule. Several columns. We sat down with the Godfather himself, Bill Connolly, and did a Q&A with him about what his thoughts are on the Tigers. So a lot of really great stuff in that. And that it's going to be out this second, this hour, this day, soon, tomorrow. When you hear this, very soon, any moment now. We cannot be more excited to get that out and into your hands. So keep an eye out for that, and it'll be with you soon.
That's right. Discount if you're a Rockin' Plus member. If you're not, that's fine. Still $15 up front. Definitely worth the investment. A little 93-page PDF magazine for all the preview stuff that you could possibly want for this season, which could be a historical season. So why would you want to miss out on reading more about that? Okay, so let's get into the season. Nathan Hurst. Last week we talked about Philip Roche, who's fighting for the moniker of Speedy on the team, which is currently taken by Marquise Johnson, an illegal term. Philip tried to break it in the illegal way by going 107 on the highway multiple times, over 45 miles per hour, over what you can do in the city of Columbia. And he got arrested twice, and he avoided court twice, and he had multiple warrants out for his arrest. So we talked about that. Eli Drinkwitz talked about it after we talked about it. He said he was going to handle it internally. So that Philip did not rise to the level of expectations for the program and that the team was going to handle it internally. Nathan, do you have any issue with this kind of statement?
I mean, I think it really is dependent on case to case on what this is about, what the person is alleged to have done. It was this how I had kind of hoped it would be resolved. Not necessarily. I had hoped that it had been a little more firm of a stance, and if for no other reason than to establish that this type of behavior is not going to be acceptable for members of the program. It's hard. Now we don't know what internally means. He could be having to run bleachers for 5 hours a day for the next 6 years of his life, even though he has 3 years of eligibility left. We don't know what that is, but he's still practicing. He's still going to suit up on the first game for the first game of the season. So whatever it is, it's internally, it's not as harsh of a punishment as I think it might have deserved in that sense. So am I surprised by it? No. This seems to be kind of par for the course for how any SEC level program kind of handles its business. Now, hopefully, does this come with an increased magnifying glass on Mr. Roche's behavior and his actions in the coming weeks, months? To where this is a fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. A much more harsh penalty. I don't know. Otherwise, I wish it had been a little bit more punitive, to be honest. I don't know what else that Drinkwitz was going to say. I don't necessarily need him airing all of the dirty laundry publicly as far as what's going on behind the scenes with Roche, but at least miss a week of practice. I mean, we're still in fall camp, for crying out loud. You could make a little bit. You could make a little bit of a stronger statement, at least by your actions, Drinkwitz, if not his words. Just to show the rest of the team this isn't going to happen again. We're not going to become a program that has players get dragged off the street by the police because of their actions over and over and over and over again. Didn't happen this time. Hopefully it's not something that becomes a common occurrence.
I think that's why I have such a problem with this, because we have seen what happens when you let this sort of thing fester, when you do not address it, when the repercussions are not made known, when you step in and interfere, when you hide it. The program in Georgia, right? You've had, 15 arrests for speeding. You've had a staffer and a player die from speeding. And it just continues to go. It's been going for the past 3 years. We have seen that. If there's any question of whether you think Eli Drinkwitz in the Missouri football program is SEC, well, we're SEC now because of what Eli Drinkwitz said. I'm gonna say it verbatim here. Quote: "There is no internal or external suspension. He has been disciplined within the program, and we look forward to him making better decisions in the future." Right? It's an unfortunate situation for the young man. Obviously didn't live up to the standard that we set within the program. We have a way that we handle things internally, and there will be internal discipline. If it comes to any type of situation that would rise above that, I will be sure to let you know. Nathan, nowhere in there is a mention of he's going to repay his debt to society. Is he going to go to court? Is he going to go to court now?
Are we going to make sure that he has a ride to court at the time that he needs to be there?
I would love if my employer, after I went 100 on the highway, stepped in and just disciplined me internally. That'd be great. Not have to go to jail, not have to go to court. Oh, that'd be sweet. Now, I'm not a game-changing safety for a football team making a playoff run, but I would argue neither is Philip Roche. Not even on the depth chart. Not even on the depth chart. I want to go over a couple things here. I know people are not consistent, and anybody who requires consistency from an individual, you're crazy. Institutions can be consistent. They can also develop over time. But I just want to go over a couple things here because this is what's blowing my mind. Remember Chad Bailey? Remember that guy? Remember what Chad Bailey did last Cinco de Mayo?
DUI.
Yeah. Had one too many margaritas. Got a DUI. Do you know what happened to Chad Bailey? He got arrested for DUI. He got suspended from the football team. And I had to look it up because I wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy. Driving while intoxicated, your first offense is a Class B, as in Bravo, misdemeanor. Do you know what speeding 5 to 20 miles per hour over the speed limit is in the state of Missouri? It's a Class B, as in Bravo, misdemeanor. That's what that is. Now, when Chad Bailey was arrested, here is what Eli Drinkwitz said. We are aware of the situation involving Chad Bailey. He has been suspended according to Department of Athletics policy. We have high expectations for all of our student athletes on and off the field, and we will follow all departmental and campus policies. That's a good statement. Versus, he obviously didn't live up to the standards that we set within the program. All of us have to be aware and be cognizant of how we represent the university. I think we try to be very coachable. It's an unfortunate situation for the young man. We will handle it internally. No suspension. Senior linebacker, DUI, threat to society, suspension. Backup safety, not 1, 2 times getting arrested, twice avoiding a warrant, no suspension. Just tell me what the difference is. Tell me what the difference is.
It's clearly the public perception of the crime, right? DUI has a specific stigma, and rightfully so.
Sure.
In the public eye, and when you hear those letters set out, there's going to be a specific public expectation that that accompanies that. This, which I had said last week, in my opinion, is akin to DUI. When you're driving that fast,
yep,
you have just the same or lack of control of your vehicle as you would if you were impaired. So in my opinion, it's exactly the same. And the law, as the law sees it, they feel like it's exactly the same too. But it doesn't seem to have the same cachet in the public eye, and so I think Drinkwitz had a easier time kind of moving around it. Not great, not what you really want to see. Also, it's real easy to suspend a player in May for, I don't even know how long he was suspended. I don't think he missed a game because of suspension. No. Talking about Bailey, he was also injured, so he could have easily been suspended, but he wasn't going to play early in the season anyway. Yep. Really, a lot easier to do it in May than to do it in August. So if this whole thing had gone down with Roche in May, maybe we get a different result, which ultimately is the same result because he's not going to miss any games. I hope that in the future, I don't have a lot of hope, but I hope that these sorts of things will not happen at all, but if and when they do, because 20-year-old men make stupid mistakes. That's just kind of what we do. That it's handled a little more forcefully, to be honest. That's really when it comes to public endangerment of any kind, there really should be very little tolerance for that. And there obviously is quite a bit here in this case.
Yeah, that's why the laws are there. I know it's not executed perfectly, but it's there to avoid public perception and to be consistent. Now, me claiming that the laws are consistent, look at me. I can say that. I know that's not the case. I'm not an idiot. But in theory, they are there to be consistent. Okay? This is not consistent. And I am not, you said that, 20-year-old guys make mistakes all the time. You're absolutely right. The mistake was going 107 on the highway the first time. The second and third time were choices, as were the avoiding court. Those were all choices. It was not a mistake. It was not a mistake. And I know people are trying to wave it away as a mistake. No, you got your get out of jail free card almost quite literally the first time, and then you did it again, and then you avoided it and pretended that it didn't exist. And now your employer's stepping in and saying, it's fine. We're going to take your lunch money away. We're going to dock your allowance for 2 weeks. I hope that fixes it. I hope we don't see another Missouri Tiger get in kind of any speeding issue whatsoever. Any issue, but certainly a speeding issue. I hope that fixes it forever. I really, really do. I'm skeptical, but I really hope it fixes it. All right. And as long as I'm talking about, turds in the punch bowl, let's just get out of the way. Remember Javon Boggs, top 100 receiver from Florida. Committed to Ohio State, decommitted. Committed to Missouri. Now he's decommitted. He's committed to UCF. Doing the reverse hypo. Or doing, he seems to be regressing in program prestige, which is very weird as his recruiting star stays high. So he decommitted, and so now Missouri only has one top 100 receiver on their recruit verbal commitment list. Wah. Look, Hurst, it's never great optics to have a recruit flip, especially going to a Big 12. Yes, there we go. Big 12 school. But we'll talk about it anyway. What were your thoughts when you saw that news?
I mean, definitely bummed out. He is a really good player, and I think he's going to be a very good college player. And also goes to show that the show is not, or the game's not over with Boggs, I don't think necessarily yet. He's already committed and decommitted 3 different times in the last 4 months. He's got another 4 months to go before he can sign, so who knows how many more we got going. So I would be surprised, first and foremost, if the coaching staff gives up on him. I'm sure they'll still be giving him DMs, calling him.
Oh yeah.
Staying in touch. If anything changes, I'm sure probably he got a really nice NIL deal to stay closer to home, which it's hard to argue that, staying closer to home, if that's what you want to do, that's a great opportunity for him. He's from Florida. If he can make more money staying there, good on him. Best of luck for him. To be honest, though, if we were going to lose a single player off of the recruiting class, I mean, he wouldn't be the first one I would pick. But let's just say losing a wide receiver, talking about position groups, that might be the one position where we had the room to lose somebody.
Oh, for sure.
Because of the other 2 guys that are still on board, Sean Terry and Daniel Olugbade, who actually when looking at their film between Boggs and Olugbade, was more excited about Olugbade myself personally.
Yeah.
So I kind of think he might be the star of those between those 2 to begin with. But the fact of the amazing amount of wide receiver depth we already have on the roster that will be returning next year, your Mekhi Millers, your Daniel Bloods, your Josh Mannings. We're going to lose several receivers after this year, but we've got a whole lot left over too. So it is hurt. Yeah. Is it a killer in terms of wide receiver depth, in terms of overall talent in this class? No, I don't think so. I think they'll survive. And hey, that opens up another spot. They can go out and bring somebody else in that we really want.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't want to be here, then we don't want you here. Don't want to waste a spot on that if he was going to leave anyway. Losing a serial flipper is, then okay, this is going to happen. But I'm with you. I liked Donovan Olugbade way more than I liked way more than I liked Boggs, and that was before he even flipped. I wrote it even in the piece. I'm pulling it up right here. It's his high school film, which take all the caveats and grains of sand that you want. Defense just fell down around him. It was ridiculous. It was low effort highlights, which is cool. It's great when you look absolutely flawless and effortless in what you do. There's not a lot of cutting over the middle. There's not a lot of absorbing impact in the catch. There's not a lot of, one-handed grabs or diving for the ball. It was all very wide open. Just put it in the breadbasket and go, or just be faster than your guy, which, spoiler alert, if you are a college quality receiver playing high school, you are faster than the guy that's covering you. That's just how it works. So I was not impressed with this tape. I was much more impressed with Olugbade, who also provides a body type that is a little more sparse on the current depth chart than what Missouri currently has. Losing Javon Boggs is not great. We have that. His name is James Madison. Okay. We have that. It's Mekhi Miller and Daniel Blood, and those guys are obviously older. But he was not going to see the field next year, unless he just cranked it out and was the next coming of Jeremy Maclin. That was not going to happen. So it sucks. Optics suck. UCF has taken a social media lap around Missouri and Eli Drinkwitz right now, which cool, knock yourself out. That does not feel good ever. In the long run, I can't believe I'm saying this. Losing out on a top 100 receiver is not as bad as it seems because you have another one that's coming in and your receiving depth chart is stacked. So, and he's a serial flipper, and who knows how many times he's, like you said, he's going to continue this until we get into the early signing period. So it's okay. Not happy about it, but we'll be okay.
And the beauty of the transfer portal is this man, even if he doesn't sign with Mizzou, there's no reason why he couldn't decide he wanted to come on back home, in a year or two as well, if the staff even wants him at that point. They probably would, but it's never over until he's out of eligibility these days. So gotta keep on trucking.
Best of luck, UCF and Javon Boggs. Hope everything is perfect for you guys.
Beat Kansas this year.
Please. Okay, so let's move on to Missouri stuff. The guys who are here, right? The people that we like. I think one of the fun things that's happening this year that might not have been paid as close attention, especially with all the lawsuits that are flying around, is that the NCAA cleared the number of coaches that can be on the field. There used to be limited to 11. You had your head coach and you had your 10 position coaches, and then all of your analysts and graduate assistants and everybody like that weren't allowed to coach on the field. Now, were there ways around that? You bet your ass there were ways around that. Did people do it anyway? Yeah, they did it anyway. And so the NCAA said, screw it. It's fine. Just put out the coaches that you want to coach on the field. You can do that. So what does that mean? Well, that means that you still have your head coach and you still have your 10 position coaches. That does not change. However, now you can fill in and specialize some of those coaches into more niche roles and give those graduate assistants, give those analysts an opportunity to do on-field stuff without having to sweat the NCAA ban hammer. So assignments have been juggled up a little bit. Nothing too crazy. Obviously, Eli Drinkwitz is still the head coach. Kirby Moore is still the offense coordinator and the quarterback's coach. That's basically the same job. Very rarely are you going to see those two jobs split up. So he's OC and QB. Defensive coordinator is still Corey Patoon, but then you start splitting things up. So like Eric Link last year was not only a special teams coordinator, but the tight end coach. Now, everybody kind of pitched in on the special team stuff, but he was apparently the guy who managed it. Now Eric Link is sole responsibility as listed on the roster is special teams coordinator. That is what he does. The tight end position has been handed off to a guy named Durham Cato. Have you ever heard that name before?
No.
He played at Dartmouth, but he has been an analyst for a couple years now, and he is taking over the tight end room away from Eric Link. Now you still have Curtis Looper as running backs, still have Jacob Peeler as wide receivers. Nathan Hurst. Here's my favorite thing. Do you know how many defensive line coaches we have now?
My guess is 4.
Oh,
I would go with 4.
It's 3.
3. All right.
It's very important. They talked about this before. Do you remember when Steve Wilkes came in and like the defensive line had no concept of what he wanted until they took, I think he was a analyst, Al Davis, fired the old guy, promoted Al Davis, and Al Davis like, here's how you do it. Like just explained it and like everything took off. So they have now split the defensive line. Last year, they split it into interior and edge, and now they split it once again. You have Al Davis as the manager of the defensive line. So he is defensive line coach. And then you have the sub departments. Edge defensive line is Brian Early, who we brought in last year, at the end of last year. And then you have a guy named David Blackwell, who's going to do interior defensive line. Interior, edge, and then overall manager of the defensive line. Boy, how SEC is that, man? I freaking love it.
The org chart is just becoming mind-blowingly large, which is just great. Hey, more jobs for more people. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely.
Drive that economy.
Absolutely. DJ Smith is still the co-DC and the linebackers coach. Al Pogue is still our quarterbacks coach. And then a guy named Jake Yoro, who went to Montana. He's a safeties coach. I actually recognize that name. He's been on a couple of staffs as an analyst and as a position coach before. Veteran guy, seasoned guy. He knows what he's doing with the safeties, which, if we think defensive line is complicated, having one secondary coach for like 5 different positions, that's got to be hard too. So we're breaking it out into corners and safeties, which makes a ton of sense. in the end, again, a lot of this is just making sure you don't get in trouble with the NCAA, because this was happening anyway, kind of within those, indoor meetings sort of things. But having that opportunity, not only for the players to get hands-on coaching from a guy who's only doing that, but it gives those coaches something on the CV, something on the resume to say, look, these were my guys when they go up for position interviews, potential coordinator interviews, that sort of thing. So I think it's a win-win across the board. And yet another thing that the NCAA did right at the very last possible opportunity that they could do it over the past 130 years.
Absolutely. It's one more step toward the even bigger demarcation between the haves and the have-nots. I mean, I think that might be the one potential, I wouldn't call it a negative, but the programs that can afford 40 coaches, which Alabama basically already had 40 coaches, and they were all on the field anyway, even though they weren't supposed to. Those programs versus the programs that can only afford the 10 or 11 that they were allotted to begin with. I mean, that's going to be the case. There are plenty of G5 programs that cannot afford more than 11 coaching staffs on 6 to 7 figure salaries, and so they're going to fall farther and farther behind. Same goes with the 105 scholarships that we talked about last week. I mean, overall, I think that's a great change, but there are plenty of programs that are actually aren't even covering 85 scholarships right now. So to add another 20 onto that's not going to happen. So we're slowly moving into this larger and larger split between the haves and the have-nots. Thankfully, Mizzou is on the have side in this capacity. I mean, we're not Alabama, we're not Ohio State, who I'm sure have 24 coaches on the field now. But we obviously have, what is that, up to 14 or 15 now, which is certainly more than probably every G5 program that there is. So that's kind of the way the world is headed these days, the way the college football is headed, and it is what it is.
I'm curious if there was a pay increase tied to that, because a lot of these analysts are making like $20,000 a year because they're like fired head coaches, right? They got their buyout, that's coming in for the next 10 years. They don't need a supplemental income, but you got to get something. So here's your peanuts. And then for the graduate assistants, it's the same thing. Like, all right, kid, you want to get in here? We'll give you a dorm. We'll get you a sleeping bag, and you just grind tape for 20 hours a day, and you give us something to work with. And it's a proving ground. And I don't agree with that, but I know that's how it's been done for a long time. So a lot of this staff is kind of the least invested part of your staff, either because you are coming off of a huge buyout or you're getting into the industry so you can get that huge buyout. I don't know if there is a dollar increase tied to it. I'm assuming that probably was, just because there's an official title to it, but I don't know what that is. Obviously, it's a public institution. We can look this stuff up, which I will when I next think about it. But at least from an operations standpoint, you have a more fleshed out position by position coach who can focus on that thing. And of course, in the case of the defensive line, an actual manager over the position coaches, which still cracks me up. I love it. Absolutely love it. So let's talk about the players. We have been able to see a couple minutes of practice. Again, it's like 20, 40 minutes while they're stretching and doing individual drills. But it seems obviously there's no question who quarterback one was going to be. It was Brady Cook. We all knew that coming in. The only reason he's not going to take snaps is if he's injured, which, we've seen that game before. So let's hope it doesn't happen again. Really, the question was, without Sam Horn until, next summer available, basically, is Drew Pine, the guy who has never won a quarterback competition in his life, is he going to be a competent backup if Brady Cook were to go down? And it sounds like he is. It sounds like Brady Cook is taking all the snaps with the ones, and Drew Pine more or less is taking all the snaps with the twos. So, Hurst, how are you feeling about that? And then follow up, what does that mean for Sam Horn going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. That's the entire reason they brought Drew Pine in. The entire reason that he chose to come here is the path was very clear to be the number 2 guy this year, and then next year, all doors are wide open to win the starting job. I mean, I'm relieved that he's won the number 2 job. I mean, I think it would be a bad sign if there was a competition for that spot at this point, considering who he would be competing with, and
Aiden
a
Glover.
Aiden Glover, true freshman,
Yeah.
and
J.R. Blood.
J.R. Blood, who is a transfer from an FCS program. So, and Tommy Locke, we can't forget Mr. Locke as well, walk-on Locke. So, it makes sense that he's there. Not surprised. I'm glad that the roles are clearly defined this early on in the season, where he knows that he's the number 2 guy, and everyone knows that if I want to move up the chain, I gotta beat him out first, and so that gives them something to work for as well. What it does for Sam Horn, I mean, it's the same as he was back in January when he got hurt in the first place. I still am of the mind that I don't think he's going to play another down of football for Mizzou. I think he's going to recover this fall. He'll be on the sidelines. He'll be cheering on the team. I think he's going to finally slowly work his way back onto the baseball field this spring. Hopefully, knock on wood, that his rehab goes smoothly. He's going to have enough success there that he's going to say, well, I can play baseball for another year and get drafted, hopefully highly in the major leagues and make lots of money, or I can come back and grind it out over the summer and conditioning and show up in the fall in another third time in 4 years, another heavy quarterback battle where I am not guaranteed to win, and I may or may not be better than the guy I'm competing against. And if I do that and I still don't win the starting job, then I'm right back where I was anyway, and I'm not being able to train for baseball. So, is that what I hope he does? No, I mean, I want him to. He's a talented player. I'd love him to be able to play football as long as he wants. I mean, and maybe he chooses not to, and that that's just what I think the tea leaves are saying at the moment.
Sure. I mean, let's not forget he was not cheap to bring in.
No.
Okay. It's all rumors and hearsay, but that was kind of the big NIL bag that was discussed around these parts was Sam Horn. But NIL aside, the reason he chose Mizzou, again, I'm like saying, ignore the money part, which okay. But the big reason why he came to Mizzou was that it was like the one school that was going to let him play both football and baseball. Georgia said absolutely not. You're going to be a quarterback. And this was the school that let him do that. So it's not, if he still has a mind of doing both, then this is the place at a high level, right? At a P4 level, this is the place. If he does not care about that, and if he just wants to focus on baseball, he can do that here. I mean, Mizzou baseball sucks. He'd be the best pitcher. He's a closer, right? Or pitcher, whatever he is. He'd be the best. I don't care. I don't know enough about Mizzou baseball. I know he'd be great. So like he might as well stay here, or he could go to another SEC school and just be another arm for a better team. But the Sam Horn blue chip quarterback story was very intriguing, especially coming right off the fumes of Tyler Macon and Brady Cook being injured. You're like, oh yes, our savior is here. And then of course, Brady flipped the switch, stayed healthy, and here we are. And then let's talk about that potential, like, because he's not gonna play this year. He's going to miss all of spring ball next year, and then he inserts himself into a quarterback battle. Cook won't be here, but even then, he's going up against Drew Pine, who will be taking second team reps all of this year, Aiden Glover, who will be taking just reps this year, and a kid named Matt Zollers, who is the new blue chip quarterback savior from out of state, who's coming in to save the day, except without that pesky I also want to play baseball part. So I'm not going to tell Sam what to do. I'm not going to try and read his mind. But it seems like if you want to play sports at the college level, just going to baseball would make a ton more sense for him. And I'm with you. I don't think he takes another snap as a Mizzou Tiger as football. And I think that's probably his best choice.
Right, and not just play as an athlete in college, but he has legitimate professional prospects at baseball. I really can't say that for football. I mean, he's only taken 10 snaps in his career anyway. It would be way too early to say that. But if he hasn't really competed for the starting job at this point in his career, I'm not sure if pro prospects for the NFL are really on the table at this point. The one way that this could help Mizzou also is, well, a couple ways. We just talked about the scholarship increases last week. That increases for football, but it also increases for baseball. So if he were to choose to stop playing football but keep playing baseball, he would not lose the scholarship. He would just hop over on the baseball team. They would give him a full ride scholarship, which they could not do until next year when this goes into effect, because you only get 11.7 scholarships and almost no one gets a full ride scholarship, and they would not be able to afford it for a bullpen pitcher, no matter how talented he is, to give him a full ride. But if he chose to do that, he could hop over. They would easily be able to fill that. Now the NIL money, that's where you would have some, it would be very interesting how that would be handled. If he got quite a bit of NIL money to come here, I'm assuming he still is making that. If he chooses to stop playing football, does that go away, or in what amount? And if that's the case, does he then shop his services around to other programs who do provide more NIL money for baseball than Mizzou does? Hard to say, but he would still be able to get a full ride scholarship regardless of what his decision is.
Yeah. He's a talented kid. I remember seeing video of him pitching, and everyone was raving about it. And, obviously he had a legitimate chance to get drafted out of high school into the baseball ranks. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to push him in any direction. I feel like there's a very clear path, but obviously it's up to Sam and his family to make that decision. So, yeah, we'll see. But, Drew Pine he's got 3 years left. So this year, and then he's got next year, 2025, and apparently he's still got 2026 on the table. Don't ask me how that works. He played 2 games in 2020, 2 games in 2021, 11 in 2022, 2 in 2023, and I think he left the team or something like that. So that I don't know. So anyway, he could be here until 2026. In which case Matt Zollers would be a rising junior. So I don't know. But it's
you got a COVID year in there, you got a redshirt year, and then you got a medical redshirt year.
I guess
doing my math correctly.
I guess,
which would give him a gentleman's 7 years of eligibility.
And again, the dude has never won a quarterback competition in his collegiate career. Couldn't beat out anybody at Notre Dame. Could not beat out anybody at Arizona State. And now here he is as the number 2. So I mean, it's a great insurance pick, right? Old quarterback, you'd be shocked at how far that can get you just on a replacement level basis. Probably doesn't elevate your team, probably doesn't help you feel good about a playoff run. But when you have a guy already and now this is your backup, okay. Yeah. I feel fine. I feel fine about this. I feel much better than, no disrespect, but Aiden Glover or J.R. Blood coming out there and trying to spell Brady Cook during an injury or catch his breath. Well, yeah, I feel better about Drew Pine, but we will see. We will see. So let's talk defensive line. We mentioned that there's 3 defensive line coaches, and I will say that defensive line is a question mark for me heading into this season. And I know we've talked about it enough over the summer, but everybody's show is somebody's first show. So just as a reminder, in my eyes, the success of Missouri football's defense in the past 2 years under Blake Baker was the fact that they were so deep and consistent across that depth, whereas guys could rotate out and you really would not see drop off as far as production or quality. You had 4 defensive tackles you trusted. You had 3 defensive ends you trusted. There's not a whole lot of drop off when any of those starters had to leave the field. And now you're missing half of that. So it's really curious then what's going to happen, because you have to go to the portal. You got to find players who are going to fit your scheme, who bring that talent, have that experience. And to their credit, Missouri found that, or at least they think they found that. And the staff has a really good track record of finding portal talent. So let's start on the interior. You're missing Josh Landry. You're missing Rialis George. You're missing Jaden Jernigan. Christian Williams comes back. You do have Marquise Gracial, who you and I have both been harping on. This is the year that you got to make the leap. You got Sam Williams in his redshirt freshman year, Jalen Marshall, who's in year 3, and then, of course, the wee baby Justin Bodford, who's stepping in on his first year on campus. Now, your transfers in, 4-star Florida transfer Chris McClellan out of North Tulsa, Oklahoma. Everybody wanted the dude. He was a 3-tech nose tackle at Florida. He's transferring into a 4-technique, four-man front defensive tackle. So that'll be interesting. And then you got Sterling Webb, who at New Mexico State helped upset Auburn because he just destroyed Auburn's offensive line over and over again. St. Louis product who went out to New Mexico State, got good, and now he's back. So that's the interior to pair with Christian Williams. Hurst, kind of what we're hearing from practice is that it seems like it's obviously Christian Williams, and it seems like it's Chris McClellan as your 1 and 2, then Webb, and then kind of Gracial, Marshall fighting it out for that 4th spot. How are you feeling about the defensive tackles as we speak on the night of August 7th?
It's definitely the one spot that it's been the case this whole offseason, but it's definitely the one spot that I am most, I wouldn't say go as far as concerned about, but I guess just have the biggest questions about what's that going to look like. Because it's everything that you've already said, losing the amount of depth that they lost, the consistency that they lost. I will say, of all the players that they've had on the defensive line in the interior defensive line in the last 2 years, Chris McClellan by far has the highest ceiling of any of those guys. So yeah. while we have lost some depth for sure, I think the overall talent has at least incrementally increased over last year, even, I would say. Jernigan, Landry, George, all solid, really, really solid, good players. None of them are, playing on an NFL team right now. And that kind of gives you the idea about their talent, overall talent level. Chris McClellan will be on an NFL roster by the time he leaves, whether it's after this year or after next year. So that's the type of talent that we're talking about here. Sterling Webb, I think, also has a ceiling that is higher than any 3 of those guys, and probably Christian Williams as well. Is he going to get there? Is he as close to his ceiling as McClellan is? No. Or higher up? No. But I think he does have he's flashed a higher ceiling in terms of being a havoc creating playmaker that those guys didn't really ever do. They were stand your ground, fill the gap, which is great. That's what you want your defensive lineman to do. But I think guys like McClellan, Webb can actually make plays that we haven't seen out of the interior spot since a Terry Beckner or even as far back as Sheldon Richardson. Now, are they as talented as Richardson? Maybe not. But we haven't really had some guy really since Beckner, I would say, was the last really standout, blow a play up immediately type of interior guy. Yeah. And I think McClellan and Webb can both be that. Christian Williams is just one of those old head solid dudes. Is he going to have 5 sacks this year? No, but we don't need him to. You don't need your interior guys to put up 5 sacks. You just need him to be where he's supposed to be, eat up the blockers that he's supposed to eat up, and tackle anybody that runs right at him. And he can do that, and he's proven that he can do that over a long time. So I do feel confident about those 3 guys in terms of the quality of play that we're going to get. But if you're going to run through an entire SEC schedule, you're going to have at least one other guy that's going to slot in there and not lose significant enough amount where they say, oh, Gracial's in, run it right up his gap over and over and over again until they bring back in Christian Williams, who is trying to get a breather. Yeah. And then before you know it, it's the end of the 3rd quarter and your 3 interior guys are gassed. And that's when it really, really starts to hurt. So they're really going to have to find somebody. Is it Gracial? Is it Marshall? Is it Bodford, who maybe by later on in the season kind of acclimates himself and can earn some playing time? I think that's certainly a possibility. Not sure who it's going to be. So if this defense is going to be as good as we need it to be, one of those guys has to step up.
Yeah. It's funny because Christian Williams does not strike me as a pass rushing interior defensive lineman, and to your point, like you said, I think most of them are being coached to eat blocks, funnel the runner out or into the arms of a waiting linebacker. However, when you look at returning sack numbers, Johnny Walker is number 1 at 10.5. Zion Young is number 3. Is that right? Yeah, Zion Young had 5.5 last year. Christian Williams is number 2 on this team. He had at least, the official count, 6.5 tackles for loss last year. Coming from his inside. Now, how many of those were sacks? Well, 0. But he had that ability to not only eat the blocks but disrupt and take down the ball carrier. How many of those tackles for loss can turn into sacks? I don't know. I don't know what his pressure rates was, but when you're looking at guys who can make that leap, like you said, be that Sheldon Richardson, be that Terry Beckner, for such a long time, I thought Darius Robinson was going to be that guy, because even as a freshman, Darius Robinson was knifing through offensive lines and just blowing plays up and flushing the play outside. I was like, oh, we can just get a little bit of that. And then he became a defensive end, and now he's in the NFL. But I think Christian Williams could be that guy. Obviously, he's a lot bigger, 6'2", 314. But, it's quarterbacks hate pressure up the middle. That's their least favorite thing. And if you can do that, then all of a sudden you're doing really, really well, and your ends are feasting. So I feel good about Christian Williams. I feel good about Chris McClellan. My feel good story is Sterling Webb, the unheralded guy from St. Louis who had to go to New Mexico State to get a chance, got it, shined, came back home. That's a story. That's exactly what the transfer portal was for players like Sterling Webb. So I hope he does well, and that if he's slotted as third, that's great. But again, Marquise Gracio, baby, this is year 3. I gotta see you. You wreck shop in the video game. I love playing as you. Please turn that into real production. Last year, the last couple of years, we've seen snap counts even out. Christian Williams ended up at 411. Excuse me. You had Josh Landry ended up at 380. Realis George at 372. And where's Jaden Jernigan? Jaden Jernigan was at 390. So you could see, it was pretty, it was egalitarian, baby. Like everyone had basically the same. Do you foresee, just knowing what we know from a pedigree standpoint, do you foresee kind of that same, 4 guys get basically the same amount of snaps? Or do you think, just based off of what we could see them favoring 2 and the third guy just kind of rotates in?
I think they're going to favor 3 at least. Where Williams, he led the line in snaps last year. I don't see why that's not going to be the case this year. Marginally by 20, 30 snaps here or there.
Yeah.
He and McClellan will probably be around 400 snaps. I would have to think. Webb right there at 375 ish, and then after that, unless someone really shines and steps up in the first few weeks, I think we'll probably drop down to maybe like a 250, 200, 250 for Graciel, 200 for Marshall, kind of a split there. Or maybe a third guy, a Sam Williams or a Bodford if someone wants to step up. I think it'll be more like a 3-man rotation and then a plus 0.5 plus 0.5 sort of thing, where you got 2 half guys. And if you do it that way, you're actually rotating 5 guys in there. That might not be terrible as long as they're playing well when they're in the game.
Yeah.
Certainly you want your best players on the field, but if you can keep them relatively rested until it really, nut crunching time down at the end of the game, then that would be ideal. So it's at this point though, it's really hard to say what that 4th spot's going to be. I do think 3 solid guys are going to get the vast majority of the snaps when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I'd love for them to have a 4-man rotation, 5-man. Hell yeah, 5-man rotation. Let's do it. Justin Bodford reminded me a lot. His high school tape reminded me a lot of Mekhi Miller's high school tape. Or sorry, Mekhi Wingo. There we go. His high school tape. A lot, just really quick. You can absorb a block, but you can also scoot in between there and really create that pressure that offenses hate. So if he wants to step up, that's great too. So on the defensive inside, on the edge rushers, we lose Darius Robinson, who really was a tackle by trade, but was so dang good that he was a NFL draft pick at defensive end. So he's gone, and that stinks. And we're sad for our team, but we love what he's doing at Arizona. Just based off of practice, we know Johnny Walker's going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy. Like I said, 10.5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks last year. yeah, he's got a spot. Really, it's who is going to start opposite of him. And so when we came into camp, we had Joe Moore established. He was the Arizona State transfer, the Mizzou legacy. Had 166 snaps last year playing behind Darius Robinson, which makes a ton of sense. But he is kind of one of those options. You have Ja'Kai Lane out of Troy Buchanan, who is in his redshirt freshman year right now. He did not see the field last year. He was getting swole. And then that was really it. So the staff went out there and they did exactly what they did before 2022 and just threw numbers at the problem. They brought in Zion Young from Michigan State. They brought in Darius Smith, the blue chipper from Georgia. And they brought in Eddie Kelly, who was formerly of South Florida and Georgia Tech and is now here. And then you supplement that with some tremendous high school talent. Obviously, Williams, Nwaneri from Kansas City, Elias Williams from Hudson, Florida, and then Jalen Brown out of Madison, Alabama. Now, based off of what we've seen so far, it kind of seems like it's Johnny Walker on one end and it's Zion Young and Darius Smith on the other. How do you feel about this?
I mean, to be honest, that's kind of what I expected when we found out that that's who was coming in. Smith and Young have the experience. I mean, Young much more so on playing edge rusher. I mean, Darius Smith played off-ball linebacker for his time at most of his time at Georgia. But when you just look at their athleticism, their size, their experience, that's the obvious move there. Now, I do think that Williams and Nwaneri is going to see the field plenty of times this year. He didn't come here as a 5-star player to redshirt or to sit on the bench. So I think we're going to see him out there. If not early on in the year, then I think he's going to kind of earn his way onto the field. Listening to some quotes from offensive linemen on the team that have had to block him, they say that he's going to be able to do whatever he wants to do on the field, which is nice to hear. So he may not be on the top 3 at the start of the year, but I think he might be there by the end. I do feel a lot better about this unit's depth overall. Also, even over last year's depth on the edge. I mean, really, it was Johnny Walker and Darius Robinson. That was it in terms of guys that you could count on production from. Mm-hmm. Now you've got you got Walker, you got Young. Darius Smith, I think, is going to be a monster. I really think he will lead the team in sacks this year, just because of his athleticism and as he learns more pass rushing moves. Because he's still learning this position. I think he's going to be really good. But then a guy like Eddie Kelly, who is a solid depth piece, if nothing else. I mean, I don't think he's going to start unless there are injuries, but he's a guy that can come in for 15, 20 snaps a game, and you're gonna feel okay about it. Joe Moore, a lot of experience. I think he's just a little undersized, I think is what his downfall really has been in terms of not getting on the field as much. But you're not gonna freak out if he has to play some snaps, meaningful snaps in a game either. We talked about Lang, he's a developmental guy. Nwaneri, he's going to be that kind of lightning in a bottle. I think throw him out there for 10 snaps a game and say, pin your ears back. Don't worry about anything but going after the passer. And then on rundowns and bring him off the field at that point, because he probably has some work to do there.
Yeah. I do love that Williams Nwaneri is wearing the number 6, Darius Robinson.
Yes.
That's cool. Also, he's
a tall, scary-looking dude, and single digits on tall, scary-looking dudes are awesome.
6'6", 257, and he's 18. Bro, dude. I've seen him going through drills. He can bend. Boy, can he bend. I was one of the things that I was really curious when I watched this tape, because obviously you're not always the most consistent, from an entire game standpoint. Like how does he do when a pass rusher has got when he's in pass protection and he's going up against the guy and he's foot with foot? How does he get past him? Can he bend around the edge? Boy, at least in practice, he's shown that he can. And also he's 6'6", 257. You get hit by that dude, you go down. Those are the rules. That's how physics works. I can't wait to see him. Also, Elias Williams, very impressed with him too. That was
he's kind of a forgotten guy and all this. He was a 4-star.
He really is.
In his own right.
Yeah, he was a late bloomer. He was a 3-star for most of his high school career and just exploded into a 4-star with most of those recruiting services. Very impressed with him. Obviously, we're going to be looking out for number 6 all year, and that's fine. Look out for number 91. He is 6'4", 268 allegedly. I feel like that's a guy that could go either way. You could either pack on the pounds and get him on the inside, or keep him where he's at and just be that big dude on the edge. But I'm curious to see how he breaks in, because that's a fun piece too, to have Nwaneri on one side and then you got Williams on the other. The Williams boys. I mean, like you said, Nwaneri is going to be here for 3 years and then he's gone. And I think Elias Williams is just as good to do that if he can put it together. And boy, that's a very fun prospect for the next 3 years if that's going to be the case.
Yes, 2026 defensive pass rush could be quite lethal if we want to look down the road that far.
I'm willing. I'm not writing off this season by any stretch, but man, the talent coming in is beautiful. So yeah, that's kind of it. With big moves. Not great news for the past couple of weeks, but we got practice news. We're feeling good about our backup quarterback. We're feeling good about the defensive line. That was going to be a question coming in and seeing them play. I mean, it's against air, so it feels great no matter what. You can feel good until you're proven wrong. It's okay to do that. But we'll be back next week with more camp takeaways and hopefully some more positive news coming down the front. But I don't know, Nathan Hurst, parting shots before we leave the people.
The early lines for the Murray State game just came out. Mizzou is favored at 47.5 points. I just, not to give out gambling advice, but knowing past history, I would fade Mizzou on the 47.5 points against any team, just because Drinkwitz does not like to blow teams out. But seemed a little early for FCS game lines, but something to think about if that's what you're into.
Just as a heads up, Missouri scored more than 40 one time last year. That was against Arkansas, a team that had packed it in and quit. So no, hit the under all day. But we're not a gambling show. We're just your friendly Missouri football podcast. And that's going to be it for us today. As always, we appreciate the downloads and the subscriptions. You can leave a comment or rate us. We love types of all feedback from you all. You can follow us on Twitter at Matt and A.G. Edwards. He's at Burst of Hurst. And of course, you can follow the Rock M flagship at Rock M Nation and our podcasting outlet at Rock M Radio. We appreciate you tuning in this time. We'll try to do better next time. And until then, M-I-Z.
Z-O-U.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. We'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.